Rome burned for 6 days straight, 10 of 14 districts reduced to ash, hundreds of thousands left homeless. The emperor stood accused of the greatest crime in Roman history, deliberately torching his own capital for entertainment. The fire began in the merchant shops lining the Circus Maximus, where oil and other flammable goods were stored. Within minutes, flames devoured the wooden stalls and leaped to neighboring buildings. Rome's architecture became its enemy. Structures built shoulder to shoulder created a continuous fuel source. The narrow alleyways acted as wind tunnels, accelerating the inferno's spread. By nightfall, entire blocks had vanished. The flames moved faster than people could run, consuming everything in their path. Ancient temples, public buildings, and thousands of homes disappeared into the blaze. The fire showed no mercy and no signs of stopping. The question of Nero's whereabouts that night remains one of history's most debated mysteries. Ancient sources contradict each other completely. Tacitus, the Roman historian, claims Nero was 35 miles away at his villa in Antium when the fire started. He rushed back to Rome only after flames threatened his palace. Suetonius and Cassius Dio tell a different story entirely. They place Nero in Rome, watching the city burn from his palace tower. Some accounts even claim he performed on stage, while flames consumed the districts below. These conflicting testimonies have fueled centuries of speculation. The truth disappeared into the same smoke that engulfed Rome, leaving only accusations and uncertainty behind. The fire raged for 6 consecutive days, transforming Rome into a hellscape of ash and ruin. 10 of the city's 14 districts were completely obliterated. The destruction defied comprehension. Ancient temples that had stood for centuries crumbled in hours. The Temple of Luna, the Shrine of Vesta, monuments holding Rome's sacred history, all reduced to rubble and smoke. Priceless artifacts, irreplaceable records, and cultural treasures vanished forever. Hundreds of thousands of Romans lost everything. Families who had lived in their homes for generations watched them disappear in moments. The homeless masses flooded into the remaining districts, creating chaos and desperation. When the flames finally died on the 6th day, Rome was unrecognizable. The greatest city in the ancient world had become a graveyard of its former glory. Nero's actions in the fire's aftermath contradicted the monster history would paint him to be. He threw open his palace gardens to the homeless masses, offering shelter to thousands who had nowhere else to go. His own buildings became emergency housing. He organized food distributions across the devastated city, ensuring the displaced population wouldn't starve amid the ruins. Nero personally supervised firefighting operations, coordinating efforts to contain the remaining flames. He slashed grain prices to prevent exploitation during the crisis. Temporary shelters were erected under his direct orders. The emperor, who allegedly fiddled while Rome burned, was now working tirelessly to save what remained. These relief efforts were swift, comprehensive, and surprisingly effective for ancient Rome's capabilities. The image that destroyed Nero's legacy forever emerged from these contradictions. The emperor playing his lyre while Rome burned became the defining accusation of his reign. But this infamous story appears nowhere in contemporary accounts. Tacitus, writing decades after the fire, never mentions Nero performing during the blaze. The tale originated with Suetonius and Cassius Dio, historians writing generations later with clear political agendas. Both despised Nero and the imperial system he represented. They transformed rumors into recorded fact, creating a narrative that served their purposes perfectly. The story proved too powerful to resist. A tyrant entertaining himself while his people suffered embodied everything Romans feared about absolute power. The legend spread rapidly, evolving with each retelling until fiction became historical truth. Nero's reconstruction plan revealed either visionary leadership or monstrous opportunism, depending on who tells the story. He implemented revolutionary building codes that would transform Rome forever. Streets were widened to prevent fire from jumping between structures. Building heights were restricted and regulated for the first time. Stone and brick replaced wood as mandatory construction materials in critical areas. These weren't the actions of a tyrant exploiting tragedy. They were genuine safety improvements that protected future generations. But Nero also seized hundreds of acres in Rome's heart for his personal project. The Domus Aurea, his golden palace, would sprawl across land where thousands once lived. This massive complex featured artificial lakes, sprawling gardens, and rooms covered in gold leaf. The palace became the evidence his enemies needed to prove their accusations of deliberate arson. The accusations against Nero wouldn't disappear, no matter how many relief efforts he organized or building codes he implemented. Rumors spread through Rome's ruins like the fire itself had spread through its streets. The whispers claimed the emperor had ordered the blaze deliberately, clearing space for his golden palace. Nero needed a scapegoat, and he found one in Rome's most despised minority. The Christians were a small, misunderstood sect that most Romans viewed with suspicion and contempt. They refused to worship Roman gods, held secret meetings, and spoke of consuming flesh and blood in their rituals. Nero declared them responsible for the fire. The persecution that followed shocked even Rome's hardened population with its cruelty and scale. The historical record against Nero comes from three primary sources, each carrying their own agenda and prejudice. Tacitus wrote his annals 50 years after the fire under emperors who had overthrown Nero's dynasty. His account, while measured, reflects the official narrative of the new regime. Suetonius compiled scandalous biographies designed to entertain rather than inform, prioritizing sensational stories over verified facts. Cassius Dio wrote over a century later, further removed from actual events and relying on accumulated legends. None of these historians witnessed the fire personally. All three wrote under political systems that benefited from portraying Nero as a tyrant. Their accounts became the foundation of everything history believes about that night, yet each had compelling reasons to distort the truth. Modern archaeology has reconstructed what ancient historians couldn't know about the Great Fire's true origins. Excavations beneath Rome reveal the fire's starting point with precision, the merchant shops of the Circus Maximus, exactly where flammable goods were stored in wooden structures. The burn patterns, preserved in layers of ash and scorched stone, tell a story of accidental ignition rather than deliberate arson. The fire spread in directions determined entirely by wind patterns at night, not by any strategic plan. Scientists analyzing the timeline discovered something crucial. The blaze moved too quickly for any organized arson to control or direct. Within 20 minutes, the fire had spread beyond any possibility of human orchestration. The evidence suggests what Romans refused to believe: a tragic accident, not imperial conspiracy. The fire destroyed more than Rome's buildings. It destroyed Nero's legitimacy as emperor. Despite his relief efforts and safety reforms, the accusations never faded. The whispers of arson followed him through every remaining year of his reign. His enemies in the Senate weaponized the tragedy, turning every decision into evidence of tyranny. The Golden Palace stood as permanent proof of his guilt in the public mind. By 68 AD, military rebellions erupted across the empire. Governors declared themselves emperor, and Nero's support collapsed completely. The Senate declared him a public enemy. Facing execution, Nero took his own life at 30 years old. History would remember him not for his reforms or his response to crisis, but for a single image: the emperor who fiddled while Rome burned. Thanks for watching this investigation into one of history's most controversial moments. If this changed how you see Nero's legacy, hit like and subscribe. Share this with someone who loves untold history.